If someone had told me the raw truth right at the start, maybe I would have suffered less, but maybe I wouldn't have believed it either. Because when you start chasing financial freedom, most of what you hear is a mix of shallow motivation, generic promises, and ready-made formulas. But the real's truth is harsh, and no one likes to hear it. Even fewer like to say it. And that truth is, financial freedom demands that you kill versions of yourself every single day. Versions that love comfort, approval, distraction. Versions with sophisticated excuses. Versions that say I know but don't act. None of that shows up in pretty posts. It's not in viral clips. And it definitely doesn't come in cute packaging. But it was that truth that set me free. And that's what I want to give you here. If you're truly chasing wealth, autonomy, and a life where money doesn't define you, but propels you, this video will challenge you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, because what's coming may hurt, but it can also give you a power no one can take away. 1, no one's going to give you permission to get rich. You'll have to take it. At the start, I waited for some kind of authorization, a sign that it was okay to want more, that it was fine to talk about freedom, money, luxury. I waited for the moment people around me would support me, cheer me on, understand my ambition. But you know what I found out? That moment never came. Quite the opposite. The more I grew, the more uncomfortable I became to others. They called me arrogant, materialistic, over the top. Who do you think you are? And for a long time that paralyzed me. Until I understood, freedom starts when you stop asking permission to have power. That's when I decided to stop waiting. I took a clear stand, talked about money naturally, set big goals, even if they sounded absurd. And that changed everything. Because when you stop chasing approval, you start getting results. Comment, I don't ask for permission to grow. If this reminded you that no one's going to let you, it's you who sets yourself free. Or money doesn't fix insecurity. It only amplifies who you already are. For a long time, I thought everything would change once the money started coming in. That I'd feel more secure, more beautiful, more confident, more respected. That I'd silence critics with a bank balance. But when the money finally came, the truth hit me like a slap. Money doesn't heal. It amplifies. It amplifies your decisions, your fears, your courage, your voice. If you're insecure, you'll be afraid to invest. If you feel small, you'll hide even when you can afford not to. If you don't respect yourself, you'll settle for crumbs, even when you could afford feasts. The money came, but my mindset was still one of someone apologizing for existing. That's when I realized financial freedom is only real when it comes with a strong identity. And that's built internally, daily, before the payment, before the sale, before the fat account. Today, money only confirms who I already am. It doesn't define me, replace me, or protect me from my own sabotage. Comment, my mind is worth more than my balance, if this made you see money with more internal responsibility. 3, financial freedom requires silent discipline, not public applause. In the beginning, I wanted to be noticed. I posted every small win. Showed my routine, showed numbers, showed progress. As if other people's recognition was what sustained me. But over time, I noticed something uncomfortable. The more I exposed, the more I depended on validation. And the more vulnerable I became when things weren't going well. That's when I made one of the most important decisions in my journey, to build in silence. Not out of shame, but out of strategy. So my focus would stay on what matters, not on others' reactions. So I wouldn't confuse exposure with evolution. So I could become solid before becoming visible. And that gave me peace, gave me strength. Because when you act without an audience, you find out whether you're truly committed or just performing. Today, I share wins when I want to, not when I need to prove something. And that's real freedom. Comment, I build in silence. I grow in the shadows. If this flipped the switch on how you've been chasing recognition instead of results, or you'll have to let go of the woman who likes to be rescued. This part hurt me, because I was that woman. The one who claimed to be independent, but waited for someone else to fix things. The one who wanted freedom but dropped hints hoping someone would help. The one who masked her neediness behind fake empowerment. Until one day it became unbearable. I had money in the bank, but still acted like I needed permission. A rescue. Protection. That's when I realized freedom isn't about having money. It's about not depending emotionally on anyone to feel capable. And I had to make tough choices. Saying no to offers that came with hidden control. Owning my decisions even when I was scared. Learning to validate myself instead of begging to be seen. It hurt, but it was freeing. Today, I don't need to be rescued. I rescue myself. I support myself. I lead myself. And that drew in different relationships, different opportunities, cleaner connections. Comment: I stopped wanting to be rescued. If this made you reflect on behaviors that still keep you dependent on someone. 5. Financial freedom demands saying no way more than saying yes. When I started, I thought saying yes was the way. Yes to opportunities, to partnerships, to new ideas, to invites. Until I started feeling drained, unfocused, full of half-finished things, and nothing completed. It was in that chaos that I realized real growth comes from selection, from refusal, from discernment. I learned to say no to projects that took more than they gave, people who wanted access but offered no real exchange, invitations that looked amazing but didn't align with my purpose. And those no's hurt, because sometimes they came with guilt, fear of missing out, that nagging feeling of wasting opportunities. But deep down, every no gave me a piece of my energy back. And with it, I built better, with more intention, with more direction. Today, my life is simpler, cleaner, and way more powerful. Comment: I honor my no as protection of my power. If this truth reminded you that not everything that shines brings you closer to freedom. 6. You don't need another course. You need to apply what you already know. This was one of my biggest traps. I thought I wasn't ready yet because something was missing. One more course, one more mentorship, one more certification. And every time something went wrong, my brain ran to the same solution. Maybe if I learn more. But one day, tired and frustrated, I sat down and calmly listed everything I already knew. About money, about sales, about behavior, about positioning. And it hit me. I already knew enough to start. I just wasn't doing it. So I stopped buying shortcuts and started building a foundation. I pulled out old notes and turned them into a plan. I applied content I had consumed 1,000 times. I executed with what I had however I could. But I executed, and the results started to show. Not because I knew everything, but because I finally took action. Today, I learn differently, with intention, hungry to apply, not desperate to escape. Comment: I apply before seeking more, if you felt that you already know enough, and it's time to act. 7. You'll have to face loneliness, and that's part of the price. This is a truth almost no one talks about, but it hit me early on. When I decided to grow, I found myself alone in many moments. Not because people intentionally disappeared, but because I no longer fit into certain conversations, no longer made sense in some circles, no longer felt at ease where I once belonged without effort. The new version I was building required silence, required focus, and many times, that distanced me from those who weren't moving at the same pace. At first, it hurt. I felt out of place, misunderstood, even selfish. But then I realized temporary loneliness is part of lasting transformation. And instead of shrinking to be accepted, I needed to expand to attract others who were also growing. Today I keep only a few close, but they uplift me. They respect me. They don't ask me to be less. Comment: I'd rather grow alone than fit in small, if this hit home with something you're living through right now. 8. The pain of discipline is light compared to the weight of frustration. For years, I avoided routines. I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted, whenever I felt like it. And ironically, that only left me more trapped in cycles of starting over, in abandoned plans, in goals that repeated every year and never got done. Until I faced a hard fact: discipline hurts, but frustration destroys. Deciding to wake up early, organize my calendar, prioritize what needed doing, felt boring at first. But then it became my anchor. Because living without discipline means becoming a hostage to your emotional ups and downs. It means waiting to feel good before taking action. It means letting chance decide who you'll become. And I got tired of that. Today, my routine is my support system. It doesn't suffocate, it sustains. And every task completed, every hard choice, every yes to myself, brings me closer to the freedom I've been chasing. Comment: My discipline is how I love my future. If you know you need to organize the chaos before it takes over your path. 9. Wealth is a result of emotional courage. I used to associate money with strategy. Thought the gap between those who had a lot and those who didn't was technical knowledge, contacts, luck. But over time, I saw something deeper. The wealthy women I knew had emotional courage. Courage to fail publicly. To start from scratch. To hear no and not fall apart. To believe in themselves before any result showed up. And me? I was stuck in fear of judgment. Of not being perfect. Of being disappointed. Then I understood. What was holding me back wasn't lack of skill. It was lack of courage to commit to the process. So I started putting myself out there more, jumping in without guarantees, allowing myself to try and adjust, allowing myself to grow with all the risks that brings. And the more courage I tapped into, the more doors opened. Because the market doesn't reward those who are just talented. It rewards those who dare to show up. Today, every decision I make carries a bit of fear, but a lot more action. Comment: my courage is worth more than my resume. If this made you realize the block is internal, and so is the key. 10. It's not about doing a lot. It's about doing the right things every day. At first, I pushed myself to go hard. Woke up thinking I had to turn everything around in 24 hours. Wanted to write 10 pages at once, film 5 videos, study 3 courses, reply to 20 messages. But the result was always the same: exhaustion, lack of consistency, and a feeling of failure that made me quit before I even gained momentum. That's when I learned the difference between intensity and consistency. It wasn't about doing a lot in a short time. It was about doing the essentials every single day. I chose 3 non-negotiable daily actions, and I stuck to them. Even when I was tired, even when I didn't feel like it, even when no one was watching. Those actions became my rhythm, my pulse, my engine. And over time, the results started to stack up, because small daily wins build freedom with more power than bursts of productivity. Today, my schedule is lean but strong. I do what matters, and not what impresses. Comment: I choose consistency over intensity. If this made you realize that financial freedom comes from what's invisible in your routine, not what gets posted. 11. The woman you admire feels fear too, but acts anyway. For a long time, I idealized too much. Thought the women who made it were built differently. More confident, more decisive, less anxious. And every time fear froze me, I thought, see? I'm not made for this. But they are. But one day something clicked. I realized it wasn't about not feeling fear. It was about feeling everything, and still moving forward. Fear wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of motion. A thermometer showing I was leaving my comfort zone. So I changed my relationship with fear. Started acting with it beside me, not against me. Started embracing anxiety as part of the package. Accepted that insecurity didn't have to stop me from taking the next step. And you know what happened? Action healed me. Not the absence of fear, but the practice despite it. Today, when something gives me butterflies, I smile, because that's where my next evolution lives. Comment: I act even with fear. If this truth gave you the courage to do what you need, even while shaking. 12. The freedom you want doesn't depend on a miracle. It depends on a plan. For a long time, I just dreamed. Made vision boards. Visualized. Posted motivational quotes all over the house. But the truth is, without a plan, all of that was just escapism. A pretty way to stay stuck. Then I looked in the mirror and said, enough dreaming without action. Let's turn vision into direction. And I sat down to structure things. Started with tough questions. How much do I want to earn? And by when? What can I sell, offer, or create? How much real time do I have each day to work on this? Then I created real, measurable goals and adjusted my routine to match this new mission. It wasn't perfect, but it was concrete, and that changed everything. Financial freedom started shifting from desire to strategy, and I finally understood. It's not about waiting for the right moment. It's about building the right path. Today, every action I take connects to a bigger plan, and that brings clarity, confidence, and control. Comment: I turn desire into direction. If you realized it's not about waiting for the impossible, it's about doing what makes the inevitable. Looking at everything I shared here isn't easy. It hurts to see how much we fool ourselves, how much we delay, how much we build a fragile reality thinking we're making progress. But the truth, the one no one tells you, holds a power no formula can deliver. It puts you back in command. You don't need to wait for something out there to change, or for someone to come save you, or for the perfect motivation, the perfect partner, or the miracle content. You already know what to do. Throughout this video, you've felt which parts hurt, because they reveal what you've been hiding from yourself. And that's beautiful, because now there's no turning back. You saw it. You felt it. You know, the woman chasing financial freedom in 2025 will have to kill off a few versions of herself. Will have to walk alone. Will have to say no to everything that once felt safe. But on the other side of that lies something priceless. Your autonomy. Your peace. Your wealthy identity. Your real freedom. And it's not as far as it seems. If you made it this far, comment, I choose the truth that sets me free. And of course, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and share this video with that woman who needs a wake-up call. Because we don't grow alone, we grow in community.